I believe the kind of qualities that I'm going to talk about, right, is necessary for every job, but it becomes pretty essential, especially in case of product management, right?
Hello everyone, welcome to yet another podcast. For this podcast, we have with us Mr. Shyam Kumar. So before starting the podcast, I'd like to give a brief introduction about Sir. Sir is currently working as a product manager at Flipkart. He is also an alumni of IIM Lucknow and he has done his BTech in Electronics and Communication Engineering from NIT Kurukshetra. So it's great to have you on our podcast. So we can start the podcast with a brief introduction about your company. I generally say that, but I think most of our audience would know about Flipkart and the story of Bansal Brothers and everything. They've read a lot of case studies also. So if you
Right.
can give a brief introduction about your role at Flipkart and also your day-to-day activities, your KPIs, your KRAs at Flipkart.
Sure, definitely. Uh, so in Flipkart, I work as a product manager in shopping experience domain. Specifically talking about shopping experience, right? I take care of customer communications. My core job is to, simply say sending notifications to users, right? Be it push notifications, emails, SMSs, WhatsApp, etc. Uh, but the job is not that simple, right? We need to send hyper personalized notifications to users so that it is relevant to user, right? We cannot just keep them sending 20 notifications in a day, right? So we have to manage the quality of notifications that we are sending, the relevancy of it, as well as the frequency of it, right? So that the users don't get irritated. So to say, right, my job is to bring 9% of the Flipkart traffic to the platform when users are not using the app, right? And hence we also need to take care of that. Number of unsubscribes happening on notification should not be high, right? Should not be ever increasing, and hence we need to balance both of these things.
Another thing that Sir I've seen is that these big companies, very small roles and very detailed roles are given. Like I interviewed another person who was also from a very big company, and his role was to manage the people coming on their website and seeing the first page and how they interact with only the first page and their journey. So I think these big companies have very detailed rules.
You are absolutely correct, right? You might be talking about the storefront. Storefront is a page where there is a separate product managers in bigger companies. What happens is that there is difference between working as a product manager in 0 to 1 and then working as a product manager in, let's say, 1 to 100, right, or 100 to 1,000. uh, in the first case, you are mostly picking up the low hanging fruits, right? Building stuff, experimenting very fastly. uh, you know uh, some of your ideas go in vain, some of your ideas works, right? But in case of saturated companies, 100 to 1,000, let's say, right, you have to optimize things, move a needle a little bit. Even if you move needle a little bit, it creates a huge impact, right? And the risk taking capability also goes a little bit down as the company saturates.
Yeah, I see that the company as they grow, the specialization increases. There is more and more specialization. Like when I talked with someone who is a part of a startup, so he told me I do the HR work, then I go and then I see what's happening with the operations. Then at the night I see what are my finances. So, but in a
Right.
company like Flipkart, it'd be like you're very specific to your role. Okay, I have to check these are my KIs that 9% traffic should come from notification. There should not be much of unsubscribe. This is one thing that I've noticed. Uh,
Exactly.
Another thing that I would like to ask is your experience of working at Flipkart, something about the company, something about the working environment, something that you like about Flipkart, so you can share that.
Right. Definitely. I'm pretty happy to share that. Flipkart was one of my dream company, right? And I am actually there, right? So I'm living that dream. The one thing that fascinates me about Flipkart is its culture, right? The culture is pretty open. People are pretty approachable. uh, you know, there seems to be, you know, no place of politics, right? Everybody's talking about data, everybody's talking about logic, right? Anybody can, you know, sort of give suggestions about anything, right? Whether they're working on that or not. So this sort of culture, especially in India, is pretty you know, scarce, I would say. Uh, the second thing about Flipkart is that, especially in case of product management, right, the processes are set. In Flipkart, we follow proper process for the product development, right? Let's say, since it is an OKR driven approach, right? A proper prioritization happens. We make sure that the resources that we are using goes into right direction where it is needed, right? Uh, the third thing is about, you know, I would say ki from employee benefits perspective as well, right? Flipkart actually takes care of its employees. When you get the offer letter, right, and when you read it, the tone itself says you that, you know, what kind of company it is, right? It says a lot, right? So yeah, I mean, it's one of the best companies that, you know, one can work.
Certainly. Um, Another question that I had in my mind, it just got lost. So when it comes back, I'll ask you again. So another
No
question
problem.
that I had was the key skills that you feel since you've been working as a product manager. So you feel are like the key skills that you require to become a product manager, and you have on your job you have seen that okay, these are things that I need to work as a product to become a better product manager. So if you have any key skills that you feel are required.
I believe the kind of qualities that I'm going to talk about, right, is necessary for every job, but it becomes pretty essential, especially in case of product management, right? The first one is, you know, being responsible. Now you would say that, you know, every job requires being responsible, right? But in case of PM, since there are so many dependencies on you, you cannot, you know, afford to slack, right? You cannot let things go, and you cannot ignore things, right? Because there are so many dependencies that once you start ignoring it, things gets piled up, uh, and, you know, your reputation goes down pretty quickly, right? So being responsible is one of the first thing that I, you know, think that is very important to be a product manager. The second thing is stakeholder management, right? Seems like a pretty straightforward thing, but once you go into the job, right, uh, and especially in companies, in big companies like Flipkart, let's say Amazon and all that, right? If you want to drive something, there are so many teams that are dependent on you, and you have to actually convince them, right, that the thing that you are doing is going to bring impact. And those conversation does not only happen on numbers, right? uh, you have to actually convince them that whatever you're making is not just going to work in short run, but also going to work in long, right? So these two things is pretty essential, and if you're not able to convince the stakeholders, then it's very difficult to be a product.
While you were saying this answer, I remember the question that I was going to ask is the since in big companies there is a lot of standardization of processes, like this is how the system works and everything. Uh, means what is the room for innovation? Like in a small company, there's a lot of room for innovation and tweaks in the system. So what is the room for innovation in a big company like Flipkart?
Right. uh, so it's in Flipkart's philosophy, I would say, right? Experiment fast, fail fast, and learn fast, right? That's what we follow. And this is not only, you know, Flipkart doesn't just say it, right? It actually follows it. And that's where innovation happens. So let's say as a product manager, right, it's not only my job to do, you know, bring innovation, right? The whole team is responsible to do it. And that's where I was talking about the culture, right? Everybody can say anything. Just to come to your question directly, right, there are several platforms in Flipkart where you can, you know, bring forth your ideas. There are several competitions going on, right? And top ideas are actually chosen very carefully, and once your idea is selected, you get opportunity to lead the project, right? So that kind of encouragement is already there. In case of day-to-day activities, uh, failing is not sort of reprimanded here, right? As long as you get right set of learnings, you are free to follow your own ways. uh, and mostly, the teams are such that they have proper autonomy to bring new things, right? uh, and if you are able to convince, right, people that these things are going to make impact, then everybody will welcome. So the thing is that nothing is coming from the top. uh, uh, a lot of things are being driven from the team level, and hence there is a lot of room for innovation.
Yes, so when you are talking about case study competition, I think one of the most famous case study competition among all B schools would be Flipkart Wired, because I feel
Yeah, exactly.
a lot of people participate. I have participated in it. I have been a semi-finalist, so I have seen the kind of innovation that Flipkart supports in that scenario. Uh, Another thing that I wanted to ask to you is that you have done your MBA from IIM Lucknow, but it's like a part-time MBA. So means what was the thing when you were doing? What is part-time MBA? If you can explain it.
No, it was a full-time MBA.
I think it's okay. It was a full-time MBA. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I must have misread it on your LinkedIn. Uh,
No problem.
so so coming to the next question then, like you have any piece of say advice or suggestion? See, a lot of students now would be entering into the MBA, like the interview season is going on. It's like they're given their CAT, not some of them are getting calls. So since you I think after your MBA you joined Geo and then you switched to Flipkart. So any piece of advice or suggestion that you have for students who are entering their MBA so that they can utilize that MBA properly, and at the end, don't need to worry about whether I'll get placed or not, and do not have these apprehensions. So, any advice for them?
Right. The one set of advice that I will give, right, is to participate in as many things as you can, right? This is going to be probably one last uh, degree that you want, right? You won't be doing much after MBA, at least from academics wise. So my suggestion would be to try many things, and that's how you sort of discover yourself, that what you like and what you want, right? You must have some sort of goal while entering in MBA campus, but many of those goals are, right, not I would say rightly aligned, because you, like, as a student, right, you don't have much idea that what exactly happens there, even if you talk to your friends, etc., but the real things are not clear, right? So once you go to the campus, start participating in the case competitions, because that brings a lot of a lot of things, a lot of innovation from you, and that actually works as a CV point as well, right? If you are able to crack few of the case competitions, you might get PPI and you might get placed in a good companies. You will get good money as well, right? The second thing is, don't just blindly chase different societies, etc., just to get highlighted, right? If you are really interested in societies, you should go for that only, because it actually demands a lot of time. You have to keep balancing multiple things. As a product manager, right, we say prioritization is one of the thing that we do. That actually you will be doing in MBA, where you'll have guest lectures, you'll have quizzes, you'll have case competitions, you'll have society tasks, you will have several other things, but you have to prioritize what you want. Not getting lost is what I would suggest to upcoming students.
Yeah. So the two suggestions that you gave, one is to explore and try new things. But while exploring and trying new things, manage your time, manage your priorities as well. Don't go into like too many things and then you can't do even one thing properly.
That's correct. Yeah, and based on your interest as well, right? Many of the times, like we see, right, your rat race is happening, and everybody is going for the same thing. That's the basic human instinct, I would say. If you are able to control that, then you'll be a lot focused.
That's one thing that I noticed. And we had this selection of electives, and few of the people were like, let's everybody's taking marketing. Marketing is so in demand. Let's all of us take marketing. So we had
Right.
from our batch of 214, we have 130 people who have a specialization in marketing only. So this is something that
Right.
happens in MBA.
Exactly. That happens. It was happening for us in, let's say, marketing was, yes, one of the hot topic for us. Uh, but few of the folks also took finance, right? Just to see that, many of the students who had good grades were taking finance. So people thought that, it must be good. But finally they thought that it doesn't interest them, right? Then there is no point in sort of, going through that route.
Yeah, in finance, I feel there is a more of companies also. When you hear companies like, okay, Morgan Stanley is coming, or Goldman Sachs is coming to campus, and someone says, oh, iska Morgan Stanley mein ho gaya, iska Goldman Sachs mein ho gaya. So there is a lure of companies also when you come to finance.
Right, right, yeah.
So coming to my next question is, if you can share something about your experience at IIM Lucknow. I think a lot of our people may be going to IIM Lucknow as well. So they must be very excited. They must have got a call from IIM Lucknow. So something about that experience. I think it must have been great experience there.
Right. I'll mostly talk about things that are not related to academics. Two things, right?
So
First thing,
adding to that, you can add this point also. A few things that you did correct and few things that you must say that I would have done this in a better way in my 2 years. So you can add to that.
exactly, yeah. Uh, so let's start with what I, would have wanted to do, right? The first thing is that going to stakes. So there is a student exchange happening in I think fifth term, right? And I actually missed that, and I still miss that, right? I still think that I should have gone there, would have got a lot of exposure, right? International exposure before going to corporate, right? That actually helps. The second thing is uh, focusing on grades, right? So once you go to the campus, many of the people talk about that grades are not that important. You can skip it, and you can sort of keep on doing what you want, etc. At some level, uh, you should have studied those academics pretty good. That actually helps you on the job as well, and definitely helps during summer internship and final placements, right? Summer internship is mostly not dependent on grades, but final placement is actually dependent on the grades, right? These are the two things that I would have done. The two things that I actually did and enjoyed a lot, right, is attending parties, right? So in MBA campus, right, there are a lot of parties. There are section wise parties, and uh, there are society related parties, and then the best ones, right, which are insti level parties, right? uh, I actually used to attend those, enjoyed a lot, right? Still miss those days. Second thing that I did is I participated in a lot of case competitions that I already talked about, right? uh, that's where I also sort of started to be inclined towards product management, uh, and won a few of the case competition as well. That actually boosts your confidence, right? And actually helps when you go to the interview. There you start talk about, you have a lot of points to talk about, and a lot of answers can be molded towards case competition, right? I'm just giving you a trick. The upcoming students can use this.
Yes, the two things that you said were something I can relate and something I get advice to when someone asks me that I'm entering my MBA, tell me something, is that a lot of people see that iska to 6 pointer tha, he got placed in that company. But you don't see that agar uska 6 pointer tha, he had 10 different things other to talk about in that interview as well. So grades are important. Don't think that किसी का 6 pointer था so he went into that company. See the overall thing, overall person, and then judge based on marks.
Right, right. So one thing which is very special about IIM Lucknow, right, is that IIM Lucknow is a lot focused on academics. And once you start slacking, right, you will definitely start getting D and F, right? I'm just Lucknow is pretty serious about academics.
And the second thing that you said about parties, I can relate to that because I have done my MBA online. I've just been 1 month
Oh
to
my god.
campus.
Oh my god. Like I can't imagine doing online MBA. Uh, the campus is so much fun.
I have been there like 1.5 months when they called us to campus. And when students who have not been to campus, they tell me, why do you want to go to campus so much? Why are you telling the administration that bring us back, call us back? That when you go there, you'll understand. You have not been there for 1 month, yet you don't understand the feeling.
Right.
Yeah. So coming to my next question, sir, is that first I asked about people who are entering the MBA. Next is a question for people like me who have completed the first year and in the summer internship will be sitting for their final placements. So any piece of advice of how to number one build your CEO, and another is in terms of how to approach interviews in general approach and also in terms of product management specific interviews.
Right. Right. What was the first question? Sorry.
Is CV building. What's the right way to build your CV and present it?
Right. Right. Correct. So one thing is clear, right? Ki once you put effort in something, that actually starts showing up the result as well, right? And many of the students, don't take CV building that seriously, right? They just wait for the last moment and put some random points, right? One of the advice would be that you know uh, uh, start looking at job descriptions, whether be it LinkedIn or some other platforms, and the profile that you want, right? Let's say you want to go to product management, you start looking at job descriptions and you start looking at what are the key skills that they need, right? That will give you a lot of uh, sense in terms of what are the key terms that I need to use. First thing. Second thing is, when you are building CV, right, make it a little bit beautiful as well, right? Do not just fill with a lot of points. The points should be crisp. The points should have data. The points should be result oriented, right? And you can find multiple ATS compatible CVs as well, which you can use while building. Second thing is about the interview approach, right? That here also, right, your selection will not happen magically. You have to put effort, right? And that's where start participating in the activities that are already happening on campus, right? Let's say GD is going on, right? Mock GD is going on. Push yourself and go and attend it, right? If some guest lecture is happening, some alumni are coming to your campus and giving some tips, go and attend it, right? If there is sort of pre-placement talk, etc., right, go and attend it, because that will give you a lot of insights around what the company is actually looking for and what company is actually offering, right? These small things will actually build up and give you a lot of confidence once you enter into the interview panel. Specifically about the preparation, right, for PM roles, what you need to do is that first thing you need to prepare about HR questions, right? Questions like why product management, what do you want to do in next 5 years, and a very dangerous and a very benign question is what do you want to do next, right? So these sort of questions should be handled, not like you should not be thinking the answer when you are sitting at interview panel. You should have prepared it, and at least always try to prepare 3 pointers for each answer, right? The second type of question comes around technical, right? Technical means, calling out that what are the product case related questions, right? We design, let's say, a phone for blind people, right? Something like that, right? So there are a lot of case preparation that you can do online. There are a lot of resources available. You should follow product school. You should follow other pages in LinkedIn. You'll get a lot of resources. The third thing that comes up, right, is guesstimate and aptitude related questions. And this is where you should be always prepared. Aptitude and guesstimate related questions can be cracked with 100% accuracy, right? Because other questions are pretty abstract, but aptitude and guesstimates related questions are sure shot, where you can follow the approach and you can finally land to the answer.
Yes, sir. While saying the answer, you raised a very important point, is that when an alumni comes and talks about his company, talks about what he did tonight, and when a guest lecturer comes, go to these things, because you may hear something that you may not know. Maybe 90% of the things you may know, but 10% you may hear
Right.
something that you may not know. And suddenly, if you say those in an interview, the interview will say, okay, this is a differentiator that I have seen from the previous candidate that I have interviewed. So
Right.
this is something that is very important point that you raised.
Exactly. Yeah.
Coming to my next question is, now we've talked about people entering the MBA, people like me who are ending their first year sitting for placements. Now some advice for someone who is now entering into corporate, like they may be the 2022 batch, they may be entering into the corporate. I believe that people with work ex may have a certain amount of expectations, they may know what will happen. But freshers who are entering the corporate, so anything for that, anything for them, anything that they can follow so that they can get better results.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I have also seen people, new folks joining Flipkart as well, right? So there are few things that existing employees expect from new coming employees, right? The first thing is that you should always ask questions, and simple question would be why, right? So whenever a task is assigned to you, right, ask why. What is the impact? Why do we want to do that, etc. This actually projects that you are pretty interested in the overall process or not just in your task, right? Makes you pretty much responsible for the overall organizational goal. uh, the second thing is that ramping up a little bit faster, right? So once you are pretty new to the organization, uh, you are actually are being given KT by senior folks, but you are yourself are not ramping up, you are not covering up, you are not revising those things, right? Those concepts, those documents, those conference documents, right? If you are not going through by yourself, then it will take a little bit more time to ramp it up, right? And that actually shows the laziness in the fresher, right? It will strictly differentiate you from other folks, right? The third thing is that enjoy, right? Make a lot of friends, interact with everybody, right? You will have a cohort of freshers who will be coming, sort of interact and make friends for lifetime. That actually matters, right? Verizon was my first company, and I still, consider them, all of the folks, as one of the best thing that has happened to me, right?
Uh, and yeah, as we come to the nearly the end of the podcast, I ask all of my guests this one pertinent question: is that any final piece of advice that you have received, maybe received from one of your mentors, one of your faculty, that you have used in your life and that you want to share with our audience, that it may be a general life advice as well, it may be a life advice in the corporate as well. Any advice that you feel that has motivated you, that has helped you throughout your journey up till now?
Right, exactly. One of the advice that I received, right, was around, when you start owning up something, right? Let's say you are replacing somebody, you are taking up the new job, right? You should not make excuses that you know, something bad was done by previous employee, and hence something is not working right. You should always own up and uh, think from the fresh perspective and start challenging everything that is not making sense to you. Because going forward, you are the owner of that particular piece, right? This thing happened with me when I switched job, right? Where I started seeing things which is not working properly, and I started making excuses, right? Maybe this is happening like this for let's last 5 years, and hence it is happening, right? That should not be happening. You should always bring fresh perspective and fresh energy to sort of change the status quo.
That's a very valid point that you raised, because generally, in terms of coming with solutions, we generally come up like they did not do it properly, hence I have to work a little extra hard to get it done. So yeah,
Right,
so have come up with a more solution mindset that okay, they did not do it properly. How can I do it better?
right, right. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so thank you so much, Champ, for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our audience. And yeah, it was very insightful to learn about product management, to learn about how to make your MBA more fruitful, and some advice about corporate as well. So thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for your time.
thanks, Vaibhav. Thanks for all the fun talk, all the conversation that we had. I really enjoyed it. Almost I was reliving my campus life. Thanks for that.
And I hopefully even I get to renew that.
Yeah, I wish the same. All the best. Go to the campus, enjoy a lot. Second year is where you'll start getting a little bit of pressure before placement. Uh, uh, and once you get placed, everything looks sorted. So I hope that you sort of handle it pretty well. That particular phase.
Once the placement happens, then your trip planning and everything begins.